Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode I will discuss the astrology for the week of May 11th, 2025. I am delighted to be a faculty member for the Cosmic Shift Retreat in Park City, Utah, October 15th through 19th. I will be teaching a 3-day immersion track about predictive astrology. This is for people who already have an understanding of how to read a natal chart and want to deepen your understanding of astrology and learn how to create a forecast for yourself or others related to techniques like transits and progressions and solar arcs and more. Check out the link in the show notes, and I would love for you to join us at this amazing retreat. First, let's take a look back at some astrology in action. We had a first quarter moon in Leo last week, and Leo is the sign of the performer. And Lady Gaga made big news as she had one of the largest concerts ever in Brazil. Over 2.5 million people joined the celebration, and it looked like people were having a fantastic time. And I guess there's a song where people use fans and fling, like you could see from the sky, all of these fans being opened at the same time. It was really beautiful to see. And it looks like the concert went off without a hitch. It was the day of Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and we learned that authorities thwarted a group that was trying to coordinate a terror attack at the Lady Gaga concert. And thank goodness they were planning to set off a bunch of bombs, but nothing happened bad. They were caught. Retrogrades pull back the tape so we can see what is underneath. And Aquarius rules large groups of people, and Pluto causes massive devastation, but they were stopped from their horrible plot. I'm recording this episode on Tuesday, May 6th at almost 5 p.m. Pacific time. And the big news today is that India launched attacks against Pakistan last night, and Pakistan responded by shooting down 3 Indian jets. The conflict between the countries began when there was a terrorist attack in India at a tourist spot. And tourism is ruled by Venus. Venus rules vacations and other things we do for pleasure. And the attack happened the day before the last of 3 Venus-Saturn conjunctions in the sign of Pisces. So Venus-Saturn, people vacationing, came up against incredible hardship. And 2 days later was the Mars in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius transit. Mars rules war, and Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, so their opposition is some of the most intense and violent symbolism that there is. The fighting began today, and there are 2 transits of note that relate to there being conflict. Venus, which rules peace, is in the sign of Aries, a sign of war, and it's sextile Pluto in Aquarius. And so Venus sextile Pluto, the peace is abruptly ended by a plutonic type catastrophe. And Mercury and Chiron, the wounded healer, met in the sign of Aries. And Mercury is approaching a conjunction with Eris, the goddess of chaos. So there's all this Aries energy, a sign of war and conflict on the shadows. And what's very concerning is that both India and Pakistan are nuclear powers that are now engaged in conflict, and the transit leading into the start of this conflict is Mars opposite Pluto, which rules nuclear power. It's a very concerning turn, and hopefully the conflict will not spiral completely out of control, but the energy is intense as we lead up to Saturn entering the sign of Aries on May 24th. So that's a date or around then to have an eye on this conflict and see how it is progressing. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birthdate book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birth date candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly/3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. The theme of this week is angels and demons, and there's 3 big things I want you to keep in mind as we navigate this week. The first is that tomorrow we're going to have a full moon at 22 degrees of Scorpio. The sun will be in Taurus and the moon in Scorpio. These 2 signs oppose each other on the axis of pleasure, power, and resource. Opening arguments for the Sean Combs trial are expected to start on this day. He is a rapper and a mogul who is accused of sex trafficking and more. And the energy is so in line with the nature of this trial. Scorpio has themes about power and control, and it rules over hidden power dynamics that are often rooted in fear and obsession and a desire for dominance. And Sean Combs has his Mercury at 4 degrees of Scorpio opposite Saturn at 4 degrees of Taurus. So that is a really tight opposition that speaks to this energy. His thoughts, his communication, and his mental processes are very scorpionic, and we tend to either project or exert the outer planets upon other people. So Mercury is the personal planet. Saturn is the outer planet, and oppositions bring in other people and situations. So it's in his natal chart that he is someone who may be very controlling, potentially even brutally violent with this aspect. This is it showing up in the shadow energies. Many other people have it show up in more of the light energies. That would be a great aspect for a police detective or an FBI agent or someone to have. Scorpio also rules sex secrecy and taboo subjects, and there is going to be secrets revealed during this trial, and there's going to be a lot of taboo topics discussed. Apparently, he would hold these parties called freak-offs where people would engage in group sex, drugs, and all kinds of other activities that went on. And some people are saying that they were forced into these types of situations. And there is this culture of silence in the music industry. And at the full moon, the sun, which spotlights and illuminates things, the sun is the best disinfectant, is within 4 degrees of Uranus at 26 degrees of Taurus on the fixed star Algol. So we know that's going to add some additional intensity to this lunation cycle. Algol is associated with catastrophes. It also has to do with the Medusa mythology, or Lilith, a woman who will not be subservient. And Sean Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie, is the one who brought all of his crimes out into the open. The lunar phase family of this cycle began with the sun and the moon conjunct at 20 degrees of Scorpio on November 13th of 2023. That's when this story was seeded. On November 16th of that year, Cassie sued Sean Combs for abuse and other things, and he settled with her within a day, but the genie was out of the bottle. At the first quarter moon of the cycle, the sun in Leo and the moon in Scorpio were both at 20 degrees on August 12th, 2024. Tomorrow's full moon with the sun in Taurus and the moon in Scorpio both at 22 degrees on May 12th, 2025, the trial starts. And the last quarter moon with the sun in Aquarius and the moon in Scorpio both at 20 degrees will be on February 9th, 2026. So you can look back and see, is there a story that began in your life related to either scorpionic themes or the house you have Scorpio in your natal chart? And are there pivot points or stories at the other dates? And you can give 2 weeks or so on either side. And notice how, if you're reading any news about this trial, about how the themes are scorpionic, as well as Uranus may play a big role in the trial. Uranus rules sudden shocks, explosive energy, and the obscene. Uranus is also the great awakener and can coincide with brilliant insights. So pay attention and really notice what comes to your conscious attention, that comes to a surprise to yourself about the themes of pleasure, power, and resources. And it's a great opportunity to investigate some shadow energies, which include the things about ourselves we'd rather disown, and a study of the light and dark within. It can be really deeply healing to recognize these parts of our psyche. Yeah, just pay attention. This is a great week for journaling. The tarot card for the sun in Taurus is the 7 of Pentacles. This is a card of patience, perseverance, having a long-term view. The Sabian symbol is a jewelry shop filled with the most magnificent jewels. This is so on the nose, as Sean Combs is incredibly wealthy and really likes to show off things, from what I can tell, his wealth through luxury goods and luxury items. And I'm sure he has all kinds of magnificent jewels that he dangled in front of people to get them to participate in these sex parties and whatnot. The moon in Scorpio tarot card is the Seven of Cups, which is a card of fantasy, illusion, wishful thinking, and temptation. And what a fantasy world these. And he had parties called white parties, where not everyone was involved in the freak-offs, which is such a Uranian word, where people would go up to a separate part of the party, the VIP area, and engage in these group sex parties, and with the hopes of maybe making it big as a star. The Sabian symbol is a rabbit metamorphosed into a nature spirit. And this gives themes, and Linda Hill describes it as moving from the baser animal or sexual instincts into living a more spiritual life. So notice if someone, and I believe Cassie may speak to this when she's testifying after getting out of this kind of situation, how she had to basically go through a death and rebirth cycle and restart her whole life again and heal from this incredibly deep trauma. There was a video that came out last year that showed him beating her up in front of an elevator in a hotel. So she really went through it, not just in terms of herself being sex trafficked, but also subject to amazing amounts of violence. So this is a really dark kind of energy, but sunlight can be the best disinfectant and can lead to people recognizing what's going on in the shadows. And hopefully some people will get the courage to leave abusive situations, and that something positive will come out of having all of this darkness exposed. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Venus will exit its retrograde shadow on the 15th. So Venus went retrograde from March 1st through April 12th, from Aries back into the sign of Pisces, where it met Saturn, and then back again. So this was a hard transit for a lot of people, particularly Tauruses and Libras, people with strong energy there, meaning either they have their sun, moon, or rising, or several planets in one of those signs specifically because they're ruled by the planet Venus. And what did you learn during this time? This is a great week to consider about what did you notice if you were overgiving, overcompensating, or staying silent in relationships to keep the peace. Aries is the sign of the self, and Pisces is the sign of martyrdom. So did you have a situation where you felt like, oh no, I need to come down off the cross? Just a really great opportunity to see, did you recognize that there were any boundaries you needed to put up for your well-being? Can you confirm that your needs are valid? Consider some learnings about love, relationships, and self-esteem that have come to your conscious attention over the last couple of months and how you've grown. It's a great way to integrate this energy. And it's so wonderful. We are now done with the Mercury, Mars, and Venus retrograde cycles. Will be past all the shadows and moving into new territory, hopefully with lessons learned, resilience gained, and confidence to achieve our goals. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that the sun will meet Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus on Saturday. And this is a big transit because this is the last time the sun will meet Uranus in the sign of Taurus in our lifetimes. Uranus entered this sign back in 2018. It takes 7 years in each sign. Now, the energy on this day could be exciting or a little chaotic. Expect the unexpected. And think about, are you open to flashes of insight or surprise opportunities? How do you react when these things come in, especially related to finances and values? It's a great time to think about, do you need to break free of any old patterns or liberate yourself from something? Check in with your nervous system. How is your body reacting to all of the incredible changes we're experiencing at this time? What grounding practices can help you regulate your energy? In the collective, we may be seeing something sudden or shocking. The tensions between India and Pakistan could be escalating, or there could be big news on this day. Mercury, which communicates, is in the sign of Taurus, which rules land, and is square Mars in Leo. So this Mercury square Mars is intense energy of conflict, challenge, or competition. It'll be interesting to see who's testifying leading up to this at the Sean Combs trial. I wouldn't be surprised if Cassie is on the stand on Friday. That would really be in line with the transit, someone talking about the obscene things they were forced to participate in and saw at these freak-offs and behind the scenes of this music empire. This is energy about revolutions and rebellions. There may be protests breaking out somewhere around the world that make big news. From a historical perspective, right before Uranus entered the sign of Taurus, so it was at 29 degrees of Aries, the United States withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal. So Donald Trump was the president at that time, and he announced our withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that was negotiated by the Obama administration. And now, as Uranus is getting ready to move out of Taurus, he's trying to get back into a deal with Iran to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon. 3 days after Uranus entered Taurus was the royal wedding where Prince Harry married Meghan Markle. And Taurus rules values, and it was thought by many to be a big leap that the royal family accepted a person into their family of African ancestry. And so that was seen as an advancement by many. And of course, there are always the racists who think about it as something obscene or something bad. But it'll be interesting to see if there's any news about Harry and Meghan around this time. Are they going to have, I don't know if they're having any more children, or notice if they make any kind of announcement since their wedding so close to the entrance into this sign. But we shall see. Also, a volcano erupted around that time, which is natural disasters often coincide when Uranus is activated. In particular, it's the planet of earthquakes. So it's a good idea to think about your plan if you live somewhere where there are earthquakes. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is submerge. We start the week with a Scorpio moon and we're looking deep beneath the surface at our shadows. The moon and Mars are square on this day, both at 10 degrees. So just notice what is maybe irritating you. Mars square the moon can be like emotional irritation or excitement, or like conflict that leads from emotional upset. So it's a good time to do a body scan, see how you're feeling at the full moon. All is going to be revealed. On Monday, the word of the day is obscenity. This is the day the trial starts. We have the Scorpio full moon at 9:55 a.m. Pacific time. Full moons are times when we can release what is no longer serving us, celebrate any wins. Emotions are running high. This is a good full moon to put your crystals out for cleansing. Debt is a Scorpio topic, and I've mentioned how concerned many are about how the trade war that Donald Trump has started, some of the unforeseen consequences could come to roost. On May 1st, the Japanese finance minister stated that Japan is considering using its $1 trillion plus in U.S. Treasury holdings as a card on the table if they started selling off the Treasury holdings. It could be a big financial problem for the United States and our financial markets, and it could really increase the cost of borrowing and loans, which could have a devastating impact on the economy that is already having to deal with and adjust to this trade war, which many consider nonsensical. On this day, Mercury at 3 degrees of Taurus will square Pluto retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius. Relating to the trial, you can think about there will be conversations about Plutonian topics that are uncomfortable. Notice if you see someone silently fuming. Taurus, an archetype, is the silent one. So someone could be furious and filled with plutonic rage, but not saying anything about it until they pop their cork and go totally off. So give anyone who looks like they're about to blow a wide berth. On Tuesday, the word of the day is hopscotch. We have a Sagittarius moon at 1:34 a.m. Pacific time. Sagittarius is mutable fire. If you had been a little down or anything with the Scorpio moon, sometimes people can get a little obsessive or in their feelings. You may notice, you wake up feeling much brighter and more optimistic with the Sagittarius moon. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, exploration, and optimism, rules the sign of Sagittarius. I don't know, something about children's games keeps coming up to my conscious attention, so there may be some story that's totally unrelated to the trial about that. On Wednesday, the word of the day is go. There's not many transits, But there's energy to really let's get it on. Was playing in my head that song, Let's Get It On. The Sagittarius moon, and Sagittarius can be unruly, fiery, and fast. And the Sagittarius moon is trine Mars in Leo, both at 11 degrees. This can be really exciting energy where you're ready to just go. Now, other people may be a little grumpy or annoyed. On Thursday, the word of the day is up. And as I was looking at the transits, I was like, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman, because the moon is opposite Jupiter in Gemini. So that can be like, Gemini is an air sign. That could be like looking up and seeing something big in the sky, like an airplane. And the Sagittarius moon is square the nodes. They're both at 25 degrees. So the north node is in the sign of Pisces and the south node in Virgo. This suggests people, for some reason, are at some kind of crossroads. I can imagine someone's trying to give a speech where they share the big picture details, which is Sagittarius energy is focused on the big picture. But they're getting lost in confusion as they're writing on one side with Pisces energy, and then in getting too caught up in the details on the other side with Virgo energy. So they're trying to figure out how to weave through this fine line, this tightrope about what they want to share. Now, Sagittarius rules religion, and it's so interesting because I assume we already know who the Pope is, because the conclave started on the 7th and should only take about 3 days. But if there was some energy where there could have been delays, so if there was some kind of delay, when I was writing this, I was like, okay, because then next the moon moves into the sign of Capricorn at 12:57 p.m. Pacific time. Capricorn is practical earth energy. So if you were struggling with your speech with the moon in Sagittarius, when the moon moves into Capricorn, you may get down to business and get the step-by-step guidance within yourself in order to finish up and give the speech that has an impact. And then the Capricorn moon will square Neptune in Aries. And when I was writing this, I was saying it's hazy, smog or smoke. And then the sun in Taurus is sextile the north node at 25 degrees of Pisces. And Sagittarius and Pisces both have to do with belief systems, religion. And I was like, I wonder if they picked the Pope on this day, but he should have already been picked. So that's not likely. So I wonder if there's some kind of announcement about someone moving up into a position on this day that is just not on my radar. Some new leader selected for something. But it would be wild if it was the Pope, because that the energy is just perfect. The moon opposite Jupiter and Gemini, and people are looking up and seeing, maybe it's the black smoke for the last time, or they're seeing the black smoke for the last time. And then they go in and they pick the Pope. And then Friday, the word of the day is BACCHANALIA. There's a disseminating moon at 11 degrees of Capricorn at 10:28 a.m. And BACCHANALIA has to do with a festival. So it would just be so perfect if this was the day that we found out who the Pope was as the sun was meeting Uranus. But he's probably already been selected, so I don't know why I keep talking about this. But on the other side, it would be so in line with the new Pope, but also the Sean Puffy Combs trial happening at the same time. With the energy, because Capricorn rules leaders But it has a shadow side that people don't talk about as much. The Bacchanalia is the Roman festival held in honor of Bacchus, the Roman god of wine, ecstasy, and revelry. And these rites would be secret religious ceremonies that were infamous for their wild and uninhibited celebrations, including excessive drinking, exotic dancing, and ritual orgies, mystical rites. And they were often at night. There were themes of release, fertility, and the breakdown of social order. And having this in line with, it's such a freak off energy. And the disseminating moon is about talking about this. So maybe Cassie is on the stand sharing her story as the disseminating moon. With the sun in Taurus, you can think about the pleasures of the flesh, and the moon in Capricorn, both earth signs, that this is what people are talking about and is being discussed and illuminated. On Saturday, the word of the day is rumble. And I got, let's get ready to rumble. Taking the steps to prepare for some kind of battle. So I don't know if there's some big WWE World Wrestling Championship thing going on this day. That is so in line with this energy. The sun and Uranus meet at 27 degrees of Taurus. And the moon is also trine Uranus. I love the idea of somewhere people protesting and making this could be some big change somewhere where the people stand up against a brutal leader and take action. And there could be like some revolution where there's a change in leadership. The sun rules leaders. And there's something interesting about it where the moon goes void of course. So when the moon's void of course, it's not talking or making connections with any other planets but it only before it changes signs. But it only goes void of course for a little while. And this is the day Mercury in Taurus squares Mars in Leo, and they're both at 13 degrees of their respective signs. Mercury communicates and Mars energizes. And in a square, there's tension. Be mindful that there's energy for verbal clashes and ego conflicts, especially arguments driven by pride. Leo rules pride. So if someone feels disrespected or not heard, they can get really agitated. Notice if you're feeling really stubborn and fixed in your opinion. And I'm just getting this image of, sun, Uranus, a couple experiences a flat tire and they need to work together to fix it, but something happens and they just start arguing with each other. And there is an increased possibility of passive aggressive behavior on one part and then an explosive outburst on the other part. So just be aware that this energy is intense and conflict can be likely. Now, this can be constructive if you're trying to form opinions to defend an idea. So maybe if you go off to the side and do some journaling, you can come up with the right words to get your point across. But if you can, pause before reacting. Maybe seek clarity rather than just trying to dominate, and be mindful of your tone. And you can think about, where am I refusing to budge even when compromise would serve me better? If you're feeling really stubborn about something. Now, this transit is going to the sun Uranus on this day is going to make a statement, I think, because it's the last time the sun meets Uranus in Taurus. So that something will be illuminated to us. At 10:29 p.m., the moon will enter the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is fixed air. And it rules the collective, technology, groups, and organizations. So, how does the unexpected event that leads to potential clash in thought processes and communication, or this could be like some kind of technology breakdown or power outage kind of thing that happens and impacts a lot of people. So make sure all your phones are charged this week. We saw in Portugal and Spain that big power outage. So keep that in mind. Keep your things charged because that could be this Uranus. Boop. Suddenly the lights go out for something. And hopefully they will come on again soon. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology in action stories about what is going on in this week in the news or anything about your own life. Take care and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.